The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program host and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by TCN TV Network Incorporated. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. The TCN TV Network claims no rights to the said content. TCN TV Network cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. TCN TV Network is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this program.
What's going to be happening in the next couple of days now? I don't know how involved I'll be getting in with them, but how did that come to be?
Yeah. So.
See that? See? But no, really though.
Left. That to me is confounding and confusing in that.
Shows that we now have on our roster is growing, and we have a lot of new shows here. I'm only going to offer solutions on the show. I'm not going to do what everyone else is doing right now and talking about how many people got shot, when it happened, how it happened. We know what's happening. Okay, we're past that now. We don't need to keep pushing that narrative. Welcome everybody to In the Now with Simone Jennifer Smith. So, starting a little late as usual. That's why I say 12-ish. I want to talk to Grant about that. I think that should be like one of my things. Start at 12-ish. Give people some time to know that I'll be around, popping up around 12. But I want to thank everybody for being here anyways. So guys, brand new beginning, brand new intro, courtesy of the master genius in training, Miss Selena McCallum. Good job, girl. I love that. So things are continuing to grow and change here, and I have to grow and change with it. Today, our show is going to be just things that are happening around the world, some things to look at. It's not going to be of interest to everybody, but some things will be of interest to you. Something I thought was interesting when I was on my Twitter feed this morning is I saw this video of Snoop speaking about, what? I'll let you check it out. He had something to say to women.
Something different. Use your mind. Like, cover your body up. Let a man have some imagination and think, and be like one of them women in the office up in there. Change some shit around this motherfucker. Do that.
That was a very quick clip from the Breakfast Club, so it started a little bit. Sorry about the pause, guys, but change it around. So, what exactly is Snoop talking about when he's talking about women changing things around and looking a little different? Well, this is what a lot of us on Instagram and a lot of social media sites do look like. Yeah, some of that. And no one can see people's face anymore. Some of that. And listen, I'm not wrong on these girls, nor am I judging them. Again, there's some historical context to a lot of this. If we knew that that's like we were put in zoos before to be like looked at and gawked at, and we just kind of continue to it. So I guess maybe that's just a little bit more of a trauma. But I think what he wants is for women to look more like this. Yeah, thick and beautiful, cover. Look at her. Throw on some print. Watch that skirt. Yeah, man. Throw on some print. And then if you're ready to go to work, who says you can't do it and look African and queenish all at the same time? So the only thing with this is I think people can change, and I don't think Snoop has not grown and matured in his time. But then I saw like this picture pop up. Okay? And it's like, I don't know how long ago this was taken, but Snoop, you were the king of girls naked, breasts out. I would think one of your first videos, I think they like covered it up, but I think a girl was like jumping for a basketball. I think it was, what song was that, Dave? Help me. You're not helping me. Okay, anyways. Snoop, I'm sure you've matured and now you're saying things like that. So I actually have a question for the community now. Do you think maybe that women being covered up is something that's only respected more so as men get older? Or is it the new wave of consciousness, this Black conscious movement? Is that why they're saying it now? And if so be the case, why do most of you men still, when you go on your Instagram pages, have these girls lined up? So it's like you say one thing, but then you do another. So I just want to hear from the men. What is it? You say you want the respectable woman, but then this is what we find from you. And these are people who, again, a lot of our younger people are looking up to. So the reason I talk about this today is we got to be very mindful of what we say and what we do. Okay, again, Snoop, I'm not saying you do this anymore, but this is something that my generation grew up on, with you as our role model saying, okay, this is what he wants. So again, is this something that, does it change as men get older? Is this a conscience movement? I don't know. Leave your thoughts, your comments. Let me know about that. But good to hear the change, Snoop. I'm happy about that. So I saw this, and I think my very first question for my community is, would you stay in a place like this? So this is the first network of futuristic capsule hotels, and this one's in the Ukraine. And I know a lot of people are like, I ain't going to no Ukraine. Well, maybe we need to start looking outside of our little box and traveling a little bit and seeing what's out there. So they designed the Monotel as technology-driven shared space with respect to your privacy. So you choose a mono capsule or a couple capsule, and you get a unique experience at an affordable price. You can stay overnight, take a nap, or just refresh. So Monotel is a recharge for individuals. It's Ukraine's first futuristic capsule hotel, and it's opened up in Kyiv, I hope I pronounced that correctly, and opened on August 20th. Actually, the news right now, what is trending is that they're going to now start accepting cryptocurrency. So you can use Bitcoins to stay at this hotel. So it's interesting how far Bitcoin has gotten, where now you can use this. If you have enough Bitcoin, you can use your Bitcoin to stay in a Monotel capsule hotel. So I guess my question to you is, would you stay in a place like this? Would you travel outside your comfort zone and just to take a look at this? I know they have some of these, I believe, in Japan and Korea, but this is in Ukraine now, and it's a capsule. It looks very The Running Man to me. Yeah, like back, this is what we were watching, those movies like The Running Man, and what's another movie, Dave? Help me out. Tron. Like, would you do this? So interesting stuff happening all over the world. When we get back, we're going to look at something that's actually affecting our environment, and what we don't know is that it's actually affecting us. Even though it's not happening in our space, it's still affecting us. We're going to be looking at the fires that have erupted and have been blazing in the Arctic. Yes, the Arctic, and also in the Amazon. We'll see you guys soon on In the Now.
Hello everyone, my name is Jermaine Chambers, and I'm very excited to tell you about the newest political and current affairs program coming here to Brampton. It's called On Point.
The first step of true reconciliation is learning more about one another.
Join us on Tuesdays from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. as we discuss all the issues.
I will never forget the trust you put in me.
Municipal, provincial, federal, and any issue of national importance, we will talk about on Point. So do join us.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to In the Now with Simone Jennifer Smith. So, my very first thought when I saw this video is, so when I think Arctic, and this is just my simple mind, when I think Arctic, I think cold. I don't think Arctic and fire. So actually, an elder in my community, elder brother, well, I'll call him Elder Simba. Thank you for so much for bringing this story up to me. He first brought this story up to me in conversation, and I was like, And upon further research, I realized that this is like a big deal. So since June, more than 100 wildfires have raged across the Arctic, which is especially dry and hot this summer. In Russia alone, wildfires are burning in 11 of the country's 49 regions, meaning that even in fire-free areas, people are choking on smoke and it's blowing across the country. So wildfires are also burning apparently in Greenland and parts of Alaska, following what was the hottest June in record history. It's common for fires to burn during the Arctic summer months, but the number and extent this year are unusual and unprecedented. So these fires are taking a toll on the atmosphere. They've released about 100 megatons of carbon dioxide from June 1st to July 21st, which is roughly equivalent to the amount of carbon dioxide Belgium released in a year from 2017. So in 2 months, this fire has released more carbon dioxide than a country has released in 1 year. So not only is the Arctic on fire, but we have another problem. We also have the Amazon, which is on fire as well. So I have a quick video before we even go into these to talk about what's happening in the Amazon.
A questão da queimada na Amazônia, que no meu entender pode ter sido potencializada por ONGs, porque eles perderam grana, tá? Qual é a intenção? Trazer problemas para o Brasil.
So why is this important to us? So filtering and reprocessing the world's harmful carbon dioxide output happens in the Amazon. So trees have hidden attributes that play a key role in reducing pollutant levels. They take carbon dioxide, CO2, for example, a gas emitted from both natural and human sources. Now, over the last 150 years, humans have been pumping massive amounts of CO2 into the air by burning fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas. This is a major driver for climate change. And this is the climate change. This is why we're getting, I don't know what's happening in Alaska, but fires like this raging for months, okay? While the forests, with all the forests gone, CO2 is no longer transformed through photosynthesis. This is simple biology, guys. And the crops that replace forests only absorb a fraction of the CO2 compared to a rainforest. So along with the industrial pollution, rampant deforestation in South Africa and elsewhere has significantly increased the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. According to Science Alert, Amazon produces 20% of the world's oxygen. This is why the Amazon, which covers 2.1 million square miles, is often referred to as the lungs of the planet. So basically, the lungs of the planet are on fire. That is a problem. Why is this a problem, guys? If there's more CO2 in the air, we don't have enough oxygen to breathe. So this affects all of us. You have to really take this in. This is a serious situation. What can we do? We can't obviously do anything about the fires over there right now, but there are things that we can control, that we know we're able to control, but yet we just don't do it. We don't care about our footprint and what we're doing to the earth. But I will say this, you will care when you can't breathe. Understand that. One thing I noted was that the Brazilian president has actually spoken out against this, and he has actually accused some political leaders for using these fires for political gain. So there's maybe more to the story, and if you guys are interested in it or have any thoughts about it, leave a comment in the little comment section below. And I forgot to tell you guys too, don't forget, if you're enjoying some of the information you're getting here, share the show out, press like. There's that little subscribe button in the YouTube that you can just press subscribe. Even on Facebook, you can subscribe to TCN. When we get back, guys, we're going to talk about every student's horror and every parent's joy. It's back to school time. See you guys soon.
With so many newspapers within the community, it's sometimes hard to tell what separates us from the rest. Most of the time, they all brag about the same thing. You know, the large circulations, tons of online views, and it can go on and on. But what really separates the Toronto Caribbean newspaper apart from everybody else? Well, it's simple. Our service. No, seriously. Hi, I'm Grant Browning, founder and CEO of the Toronto Caribbean newspaper. I have over 20 years of branding and marketing experience, and I've worked with countless companies and corporations to do one thing, and that is to raise their profits with their brand. With over 40 years of combined experience in branding and marketing, our amazing staff is fully prepared to sit down and figure out exactly what you need to stand out from your competitors.
The reason why you don't see that anymore is because
the ad is too powerful, bring too much people.
So what are you waiting for? Give us a call today. We'll be happy to help.
That's hilarious. Can they hear me? Okay, welcome back, everybody. So, teacher, this is going to be you for the next 8 months. Please sit in your desk, and this is going to be all of your students. So, it's back to school time, and today we're actually going to look at ways that teachers and parents can get their students ready for their best year yet. Now, some of the things I'm going to be mentioning are things that you may not have even thought about, because obviously, like, some of the things you're thinking about when it comes to school is, you know, backpacks and books and study plans and make sure you have all their clothes. Okay, we can get rid of this now. Selena really liked that one. But there's some other things we need to take into consideration, because every year we get teachers, you'll get a new batch of students, parents, you'll get a new set of teachers. And I've seen, because I work in the community, I see sometimes the conflict that can happen between teachers and parents, parents and students, students and teachers. And there's a way that we can avoid that. And I want to give some little small tips today to look at. So one of the things is communication. Learn on, for teachers, you know, if you live in a certain area and you have a certain group or culture coming into your classes, it's time for you to start learning more about their culture, okay? Learn about the students that you're working with. Though if you learn your students, you'll be better able to relate to the students, and not just the students, you'll be better able to relate to the parents who you have to deal with. So communicate. Parents, take some time to learn about your teachers. If you know the teacher who your child's going to get, which sometimes they tell you the name of your teachers that they let you know for the next year, do your research. What are some of the things that are being said about this teacher? What are things you need to work on or look or think about? Should you be preparing to meet these teachers? I know some schools, they'll actually allow you to come in and meet the teachers ahead of time. Not all schools do it, but I know some do. Look into the alternative. What can you do to make sure that your child is prepared for the school year and that they have a great school year? Also, learn what is trending with your students. Listen, technology is not going away. You saw those microcapsules in the last section. Like, we're living in little boxes now. Like, this is how life is going to be. Technology is not going anywhere. Just saying, I don't have this, or I don't do this, or I don't use this is not enough, because you have students out there who are way ahead of their teachers just when it comes to technology. I think now they're starting to use things like Google Classroom in the classes, which is great. So it is a step, but you have to go even further than that. Teachers, you need to know what is trending with your students. What is hip and hop? Roadblocks. A lot of teachers don't know about these things, but these are things that their kids are playing. The more that you're able to relate to your student is the better interaction you're going to have with that student. If they can relate to you, they'll respond to you. And it's something that you have to be aware of. So technology is another way. Also, workspace for parents. This is the time now that you need to start actually implementing those back to school routines. What I mean by that, children have to start going to bed earlier. Yes, they've had fun all summer, staying up to all types of night. But guess what? You do not want on that first night when school hits where they have to go to bed early and they can't because they're nervous, they're anxious, or whatever the case might be, or they're still coming down from the summertime. It's bad news. Start preparing them. Start now in this next couple of weeks, cutting down that, instead of staying up till 11, now maybe the first week you'll only stay up till 10 or 9:30. And then maybe the next week you can stay up till maybe 8, 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock. Just starting to, get them prepared because school's coming and they need to be ready. Also, setting some time aside for parents who haven't kept their kids active in schoolwork throughout the summertime. You may not have had time to. What you can start doing now, it's not too late. Start setting up reading times for your students or your young ones. So yes, I understand you're busy, you're at work. When you come home, maybe instead of throwing them in front of an iPad, taking the time to go to a library with them, getting them some books, enough to last them for at least a week, and let them take an hour or at least 30 minutes a day to sit down and start reading and getting prepared for the new year. Also, a workspace. That picture, thank you, Selena, for putting it up. Prepare your students' workspace. Start getting them in the mindset of, yes, I am going back to school. I need to have my pencils in an area. I need to have my books, my erasers. I need to have things ready so when I come home and I have to do my homework, the space is set up ready for me. So just some things to think about for parents, teachers, and for students. Again, we want to make sure we're giving our students the tools they need to have the best year ever. In speaking of teachers, I kind of wanted to honor a young lady who I think it's incredible, her story. Her name is Lakeisha Brown, and I have a quick video on who she is, and we'll talk a little bit more about her.
A D.C. elementary school teacher recognized by DCPS as the nation celebrates Teacher Appreciation Week. She was once homeless, and now she's Teacher of the Year. She says it was her upbringing that inspired her to become the educator she is today. Caroline Patricus shows us why students and staff just love her.
Inside this Candyland-themed classroom,
what was yesterday?
The students become the teachers.
Today was Monday.
And it's easy to see why Lakeisha Brown's students come alive. It's no wonder why she's recognized as DC's Teacher of the Year.
A girl from a small town who really had a really rough upbringing could possibly win too.
Her childhood, though rough, helped her get to this point.
I grew up in a household where my mom, she was dying of AIDS. People who were your friends were no longer allowed to be your friends, and we became that family. I was teased and I was bullied a lot, and I struggled.
Brown used these moments to create one of the best classrooms in D.C.
I want to be a teacher that counts every child, who thinks that everyone can make it.
In Northwest, Caroline Patricus, ABC 7 News.
She needs to teach adult classes.
Welcome back, guys. So I really love this woman's story. So a quote from her, actually. A girl from a small town who had a really rough upbringing could possibly win too. I didn't count myself out. It's a moment that I will never forget. So Miss Lakeisha Brown, she has been teaching at Lafayette Elementary School in Northwest D.C. for the last 4 years, and she was taking care of her dying mother at 9 years old. And of course, this made her feel like an outsider. So she, again, another quote from Miss Lakeisha, being up the night before and taking care of a sick parent. My teachers were always mad that I was late. They didn't take the time to give me a moment to even explain myself. So my number one goal is for my kids to know before we start our day that they can get a hug first. If they are late, I'm not going to rush them in. I'm going to embrace them because you never know what happened before they got there. I think this is an incredible, incredible way to be. I salute you, Miss Lakeisha. That is, people don't understand, again, the emotional side of a child. If a child is not good emotionally, they won't learn. And this is something that Lakeisha had to go through personally and then be able to share this with her students, share this with people going forward. And I really appreciate you for that, Lakeisha. Definitely, I think I'm going to get in contact with you to talk a little bit more about how we can implement that even over here in Toronto. So, last segment, we have one more to go. So, this week we celebrated 400 years, and it's actually the International Day for the Remembrance of the Slave Trade and its abolition, and its importance, of course, to the African community. At the end of this, I'm also going to throw up a little motivational reminder for our weekend to get us going, but I really want to talk about this 400 years and why it's so important. We'll see you guys soon on In the Now.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Beings as property, deprived of personal rights, has occurred in many forms throughout the world. But one institution stands out for both its global scale and its lasting legacy. The Atlantic slave trade, occurring from the late 15th to the mid-19th century and spanning 3 continents, forcibly brought more than 10 million Africans to the Americas. The impact it would leave affected not only these slaves and their descendants, but the economies and histories of large parts of the world. There had been centuries of contact between Europe and Africa via the Mediterranean, but the Atlantic slave trade began in the late 1400s with Portuguese colonies in West Africa and Spanish settlement of the Americas shortly after. The crops grown in the new colonies, sugarcane, tobacco, and cotton, were labor-intensive, and there were not enough settlers or indentured servants to cultivate all the new land. American natives were enslaved, but many died from new diseases, while others effectively resisted. And so, to meet the massive demand for labor, the Europeans looked to Africa. African slavery had...
So, the United Nations International Day for the Remembrance of the Slave Trade and its abolition, wow, it's a really long name. They should have made that an acronym, is annually observed on August 23rd to remind people of the tragedy of the transatlantic slave trade. For a lot of members in our community, I know they'll say, and I know Dave would say, this was not a trade. There was no trading here. If you research the word trade, this does not resemble the word trade. But we're just going to use the words here for now. It gives people a chance to think about the historic course, the methods, and the consequences of this slave trade. Each year, the UN invites people all over the world, including educators, students, and artists, to organize events that center on the theme of the day. Theaters, companies, cultural organizations, musicians, and artists take part on this day by expressing the resistance against slavery through performance that involve music, dance, and drama. I want to play another quick video, and then I'm going to go into how it affects the Caribbean side of things, because obviously during this so-called trade, Africans were brought to all parts of the world, but the Caribbean hosts a great deal of them. So let's take a quick look at this video, and then we'll go into that quickly.
Some captives took matters into their own hands. Many inland Africans had never seen whites before and thought them to be cannibals, constantly taking people away and returning for more. Afraid of being eaten, or just to avoid further suffering, they committed suicide or starved themselves, believing that in death their souls would return home. Those who survived were completely dehumanized, treated as mere cargo. Women and children were kept above deck and abused by the crew, while the men were made to perform dances in order to keep them exercised and curb rebellion. What happened to those Africans who reached the New World, and how the legacy of slavery still affects their descendants today, is fairly well known. But what is not often discussed is the effect that the Atlantic slave trade had on Africa's future. Not only did the continent lose tens of millions of its able-bodied population, but because most of the slaves taken were men, the long-term demographic effect was even greater. When the slave trade was finally outlawed in the Americas and Europe, the African kingdoms whose economies it had come to dominate collapsed, leaving them open to conquest and colonization. And the increased competition and influx of European weapons fueled warfare and instability that continues to this day. The Atlantic slave trade also
So there's some things in there that stuck out for me. One of the things that stuck out was the part where they would make the black men dance to keep them active and from rebelling. So guys, I want you to honestly sometimes just keep your eyes open to the effects and how some of this trauma has been passed down to us, and we're acting in ways sometimes that we don't even realize. So keep that in mind. So in late August 1791, an uprising began in Santo Domingo, today known as Haiti and the Dominican Republic, that would have a major effect on abolition and the transatlantic slave trade. The slave rebellion in the area weakened the Caribbean colonial system, sparking an uprising that led to abolition and also giving the islands its independence. It marked the beginning of the destruction of the slavery system, the slave trade, and colonialism. International Day for the Remembrance of the Slave Trade and its Abolition was first celebrated in many countries, in particular in Haiti on August 23, 1998, and in Senegal on August 23, 1999. This date pays tribute to those who worked hard to abolish slavery and the slave trade throughout the world. This commitment and the actions needed and used to fight against the system of slavery had an impact on the human rights movement. So I know for a lot of individuals, and we're hopefully going to have one of our elders come on one of our other shows here to help you to speak about the importance of these 400 years. We need to understand how far we have come from that point and what we need to do better, okay? Yes, we are dealing with trauma, but we need to learn from the trauma and understand why we as Africans in the diaspora act the way that we do. All right, so to end it, I'm gonna end with something positive, motivational. I want you to throw out my last tweet that I found. Everybody, in the words of Nike, just do it. Whatever you need to do today, do it. Whatever you need to do this weekend, on Saturday or Sunday, don't think about it. Just do it. We're here for a limited time, everybody. Let's use the most of it and make the best of it. I will see you guys next week on In the Now. You have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Again, any comments, suggestions, any news that you want spoken about on In the Now, anything that's important to you, the viewer, please send it in, and we'll see you guys soon. Have a wonderful weekend.